Oh, have you been watching Severance?
Uh,
Have you read the Lexington letter?
if it's not a Morgan letter, I'm not touching it.
Bravo breakdown.
Well, good morning, students. I'm Lauren
I'm
Davis,
Michele Davis.
and we are Bravo Breakdowns. We're gonna continue this deep dive trajectory. Thank you to everyone who watched our Bethany deep dives. If you haven't, or listened, if you haven't, go back because we really got some good tea. And due to popular request, today we're going to launch into the psyche
Oh,
of another Real Housewives of New York, RHONY OG.
oh boy.
She is the moment.
She is the
She is
moment. She is the moment.
the moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just
no,
like
she,
Steve.
yeah. So this is our deep dive on Ramona Singer. Now, this is gonna be a little different than the Bethany deep dive because with Ramona, like, there's so much mystery that we'll kind of never know.
Right.
You know, who could really understand? I think that, like, if she had a therapist for 50 years, the therapist would still not fully understand the way that mingy little mind works. You
Yeah,
know?
they wouldn't want to.
No. I think that, like, the second you understand her, you become her. Like, when a
Right.
detective becomes a serial killer because they
Right.
become too obsessed, you know?
We
And
need
no
to
one
get
wants that.
Jodie Foster on the case.
Yeah, we need a Clarice
Clarice.
to who would be Ramona's Hannibal?
Probably like Sonia.
Sonia, probably.
Just when
Yeah.
Sonia's like pretending to be vegan, but she's like so hungry.
Yes, when Sonia's doing her juice cleanse, so they put her in a straitjacket and like a mask so she can't have food and like push Lexapro and water pills in her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. I can see
Yeah.
that. Make it.
Yeah,
Make it
that's
Hollywood.
actually scarier than anything Hannibal's ever done.
So true.
Hannibal.
Okay, so this Ramona, the big questions that Michele and I had about Ramona going into this were, number one,
What is true faith?
what is true faith? Number two, where does the money? What's going on with the money?
Mhm.
Number three, we just really wanted to break down the timeline of the Mario cheating. And number four, we wanted to learn more about her insane book, Life on the Ramona Coaster. So that's really what we're going to focus on here. So let's start with Ramona. Where does the money come from? Ramona Singer was born in 1956. Her name was Ramona Mazer, like Debbie Mazer.
Oh
Isn't
my
that
god.
cool?
They could be sisters.
I wish. That
Yep.
would be a good movie.
I know, but Debbie Mazer, I don't believe is from upstate New York.
But then what's her accent from? Jersey?
Yeah. They don't sound
Okay.
like that upstate.
Yeah, she's a Jersey
Right.
girl, or Long Island.
Long Island.
Yeah, Ramona grew up in Poughkeepsie. She went to Roosevelt High School, and actually Ramona does have a sister who was in the news.
Uh-oh.
Ramona's sister, she wrote a book the same year Ramona did, also about like childhood upbringing, her life, but she is a recovering addict.
Hello.
Her book is called Cocaine and Champagne: Road to My Recovery, which is such a good title.
Is that on
Sorry.
Audible?
I know, yeah. I hope if Ramona narrates
I
that
need
audiobook.
her. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Michelle Williams will not be getting the Grammy this year.
Also, Kirsten Dunst has a memoir coming out, which I'm stoked for. Anyway, in this book, Mazer, she talks about, you know, a lot of what like Ramona talks about on the show, that, you know, her dad was always yelling at her mom, calling her mean things. He was so arrogant and condescending to all of us. They were all scared of him. And also, he was an alcoholic, and he encouraged them to start drinking at, you know, like a super, like 12, like,
But
you know,
was it
friggin' Star is Born.
Wasn't Pinot Grigio?
Maybe that's why.
And
It
here's
was
the wild.
Pinot, champagne, cocaine.
And here's the wild thing. Here's the wild part about what you just said is the way that you delivered it was like the way that I delivered talking about like my grocery store. Like we need like milk, we need eggs, and you're like yelling. Blah.
Yeah, well, because I was like, is this too dark to like start with? So you know, there was darker stuff. So I like that was like the laundry list I decided wouldn't be too messed up.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
the fun laundry list, you know, like Bill Cosby, like, you know, starting off on a good note. Okay, so then we'll put her high school picture also here in the YouTube and on our Instagram. Check it out, and she looks exactly the same. Like, she was so pretty.
She looks amazing. Like the Pinot Grigio really preserved her.
Yeah, it's like a formaldehyde, you know. Okay, so then a lot of this I pulled from her book, so the timelines are a little wonky compared to
Did you read it?
I read excerpts. So she graduated from FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology.
Yeah, that's a really famous school.
She says she was the first female graduate of the 4-year honor program. So like usually it's like I think you get an associate's of arts degree, but she was one of the first female to get the bachelor degree when they first started offering bachelor degrees. And she said she got it by simply going to the dean and convincing him to admit her to this very exclusive honors program. And I want to know what that conversation was. Yeah.
That's so simple. The
I
simple
simply
life.
convinced him. Yeah, like I wonder, like, because she was in sales too. After that, she was in sales for like French Connection and Calvin Klein, and I wonder if like she was still like gangbusters, like bug-eyed Ramona back then, and people would just say yes to her because they were like, ah. Like,
yeah, no,
let me into your program. Won't you let me into your program?
I know.
And they're like,
oh my God, are you gonna keep like talking to me this way? Like, why are you wearing these jeans with crystals on the ass? I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah. So then she becomes a trainee and then a buyer at Macy's in 1985. This is where her timeline is very strange. Yeah, she's a float designer. No, she for clothes. Then the next year at 29 in 1986, she loses her job. And she breaks up with her fiance, and she says famously on the show that her fiance was Jewish. She was converting for him, but he never said thank you. And that was a big part of the breakup.
He said shalom, and she was like, I don't know what that means.
We haven't gotten there yet.
The Mariah Carey, I don't know
her. I don't know shalom. So then she moves in with a roommate and spends her last $5,000 on a golden isle fox fur coat because it complements her hair. And she says that was a great decision because Mario called her the next day. So here's where it gets a little really confusing. So she says she started seeing Mario in 1986, and then they started their company together, RMS Fashions, their wholesale fashion company together that year too. But Manhattan court records show a 1987 marriage license between Ramona Mazer and wealthy plastic surgeon and friend of RHONY, guy who's been on the show a lot, Dr. Howard Sobel. Isn't that so weird? Like she never mentions it on the show.
She didn't mention it at all.
She didn't mention it at all. And there's like, I don't know if they ever got married. Like she never went by his last name or anything, but they did apply for a license.
Interesting.
I'm like, is there some kind of law where you can only perform surgery on like, you can't, a double jeopardy law, or you can't testify in front of your wife if
or
she
maybe that's why
performs
she
surgery?
looks so good and she's never aged. He did maybe some experimental surgery on her,
like a death becomes her.
Yeah,
He was like the Bruce Willis.
You have to marry me to get it.
Yeah. I mean, that it is speculated that that's like the source of her wellspring of eternal youth. But I'm like, why do they never talk about that? So
there's just too much going on in the show.
Yeah. I'm like, but it's like he's American, so it's not like he's like a Canadian guy who needed a green card or something.
Those are the only guys that need green cards. Canadians. Canadian
famously.
Men. Famously.
The
RHONY man.
Brawny Paper Towel Man. He is there at the what's the hotel they always go to in RHONY to pick up groupies?
The Carlisle? No. I've been there. Oh my God, where Tom fucked up.
Yeah. Well, he's there with all it's a bunch of Canadians looking for a marriage and a hot meal. And okay, so then it's just crazy because like he is Tinsley's plastic surgeon. Like he gives her Botox on the show to treat her TMJ. He is like the go-to dermatologist for Bethany. Like it's wild.
He's a great guy.
Wild that this never comes up or is explained, maybe even just to cover her ass.
Maybe all of them have a marriage license with him. That's how you get on the show.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
He was the original the pipeline.
He was the original Tom.
Yeah, he kind of was, maybe. At least in terms of like having been inside all of the women with his hypodermic needle. So
let me fix that jaw of yours.
So then she starts her wholesale clothing business, RMS Fashions Incorporated, with Mario. Her father lent her the $70K to start the business, but she says she paid him back within a month plus interest. And it's also speculated that he connected her with her distributor because her mom and dad apparently also ran a wholesale distributing business. Again, there's not nearly as much stuff on her as there is Bethany, because neither of her parents were like celebrities. But so
Yeah.
this is all, take all of this with a grain of salt. This is all just like the rumor mill, the rumor and nastiness mill. So Mario, this is true. He comes from a family with a successful trophy business.
Nice.
That he was working for part of the time when he met Ramona, and he was also obviously working as like a tennis pro at the club and doing tennis. It's a classicmedallics.com. See, a trophy business, so smart, because you know, that's always going to be in business because everybody gets a participation trophy.
I know. You got to get in the ribbon business.
Hell yeah.
I want to make ribbons.
Yeah. For all these, you know, the snowflakes,
the snowflake
kids.
Yeah.
It's actually very hypocritical that a lot of Ramona's money came from the trophy business when she's such a bootstraps conservative.
Right.
Pointing that out. So yeah, so I think that like, since he was kind of like, you know, a rich kid working, doing tennis, like I think starting that business with Ramona gave him a real sense of purpose. And they were partners together, you know?
Yeah.
So in the 90s, we know from RHONY, she briefly did bodybuilding and bodybuilding modeling.
She's always been so fit.
She takes good care of her body. And she wrote like a hilarious article for Cosmo too. I mean, it's clearly very ghost written, but she's like, if you're waiting for a man like Kevin Costner with buns like that, honey, he'll never come. Start giving people your number. It's like so nice.
She's always been so good at flirting though, really.
Yeah. She and Luann, they were just born with game. Born gorgeous, born with game. So she married Mario in 1992. His mom bought the Hamptons house in 1994, and they lived with her there and in her Fifth Avenue apartment. I'm not sure if it was like just that he was close with his family, or if his mom was getting older, or if they were just like saving money for the business. No, nothing on that. So she gives birth to Avery at the age of 38, and then in 2005 she starts True Faith Jewelry. Okay, so the true faith of it all. So the trophy business that they have actually started as a religious jewelry business.
That is a pivot.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's like, you know, now all the kids, instead of getting, you know, Star of David and cross necklaces when they win a karate tournament,
everyone has to feel included.
Everyone has to feel included. So they all get, you know, secular trophies.
Yeah, exactly.
But that, so it's like,
that's my Kwanzaa trophy.
So that's like why they got into it. They already, you know, his family already had connections. They had like, you know, production, you know, it was easy for them to re-enter that. And it's not as commonly derided. People are like, it's a cheater brand for true religion. And it's like, no, the designs might be, but the singers did have a background in religious jewelry. So then in 2009 to 2010, she sold 2 jewelry connections on Home Shopping Network. In 2009, her father died, and she and her sister were written out of his will. Like, for real. Like, not, you know, just
crazy.
Bethany saying that. Her sister, her sister says Ramona, like, she was like, I think Ramona, he wrote her out just because it was like, you know, I think part of it was contention, but also she didn't need the money. She already was doing really well. But
she'd already paid off her daddy.
Yeah, but her sister was a lesbian. And
oh, God.
Her dad was like a big, you know, like Polish or Ukrainian American religious guy, and he hated that she was gay, and she thinks it was like a final fuck you, which is so sad.
That's so sad.
It makes me well up. So then 2010, Ramona starts True Renewal Skincare. It goes under pretty quickly, and then she relaunches the same line in 2018 as Ageless.
It's by Ramona. I mean, she's always had great skin.
Yeah.
Which is actually amazing considering how much she drinks.
It's crazy. I think her thing, part of her secret, other than the marriage to Dr. Sobel, is she is not a big filler girl. She is more of a, like, I feel like laser, like IPL, all the stuff that's more resurfacing, all the stuff that's more popular now that we're pivoting away from filler, you know, microdermabrasion. I think she's been doing all of that stuff a lot.
We've seen it on the show. We saw her before they went to on the Mexico trip. She had just done that intense laser. her skin. She's like, I have like the skin of a baby, but it was like she looks like a burn victim.
Yes, yeah, because
And
it peels away all the bad skin and releases
and
the good
Sonny's
skin.
trying to talk to her and have a real moment. She's like, I couldn't even look at her. She looked like a cheese pizza with like the pepperoni coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, and then I think she gets a good facelift every 10 years
She
too.
has really good doctors who are like, do this, not that.
Yes. I think like the staying away from filler was just so smart of her. So then 2011, she starts Ramona Pinot Grigio. So she's really kind of juggling all of these businesses. And then she says her reason for disbanding a lot of them in her book is the final straw came when the HSN jewelry line got sold at a much higher price point than Ramona was anticipating or had planned. And she's like, even I wouldn't pay $1,000 for my own jewelry, and I have 10% of wealth. So then she was like, okay, no more in the jewelry, backing off the becoming more of a spokesman for the Pinot,
right.
letting go of the true renewal will wait and bring it back as ageless.
When I turned 60 and everyone's like, I can't believe you're 60. This is crazy. You look unbelievable. What's your secret? Let me tell you.
Honestly, she and Bethany are really similar. Like, I think Bethany is like way more of a hustler. And I think that Ramona had more like work experience working for other people. Like Bethany was an entrepreneur, I think, like from the get-go, even though she also just had a short-lived wholesale.
Well, because like also who would want Bethany as an employee?
Yeah, she's
really
also, who would want Ramona as an employee?
Be a lot. I mean, I can't imagine either of them sitting in a cubicle doing spreadsheets. Can you?
Yeah, I can't imagine having a performance
they're guzzling
review.
They're like, skinny girl and Ramona, doing your spreadsheets.
Oh my God. Yeah, having them, they would not be a fun time at lunch.
I know.
I would rather watch as a fly on the wall. I wouldn't want to have to
I know. Engage. I can imagine working with them, be like, hey, can you help me with the sales tax report? That's what I do for a living.
They're like, why would I support you? You don't support other women. Yeah, everything would just be a confrontation, I feel. Probably why Ramona, if her timeline is correct, was fired within a year of getting her promotion from like trainee to paid worker at, what's it called? Macy's? Yeah, Macy's. I don't know why I didn't trust myself. Okay, so then in 2015, she releases her book, Life on the Ramona Coaster.
Which she names after everyone on the show, calling her Ramona Coaster because she goes from 0 to 100 really quickly. And she's very emotional, very mean, very insane.
But she's, owning it. How do you feel about people when it's like a catchphrase like Giovanni that someone has given you as a read, and you take it? What do we feel about the IP situation with that, intellectual property?
I think if you say it and it really does embody that person, and everyone, when I hear Ramona Coaster, I think of Ramona. I don't think of the person who said it. When I think of Giovanni, I think of Luann. I do think of Dorinda.
And with Ramona Coaster, I think
Giovanni.
Ramona Coaster, I think of Bethany and Ramona kind of equally.
I don't know. I guess I think of Ramona when I hear, because it's literally Ramona is in the name. I don't really give a shit.
Do you think that caused?
If other people get pissed about it, like, hey, you're making a lot of money off of this, like I think Dorinda did, right? But I guess because Luann made that song, One Day at a Time. Funny. Listen, whatever. Bethany has lots of money. This is a dumb thing for her to get mad about. Did she get mad about that?
I feel like she didn't. It's not like, I think she was too. It was like around the same time as Tipsy Girl, and so she was more.
She's more mad about that, which she should be.
Yeah, it's a cheater brand.
Which that's the first time we all learned about what a cheater brand was.
That's true. She has introduced a lot of like
economic
and legal terms to the masses.
Yeah.
The Bethany Clause. So then in 2018, another source of income for her is renting out her Southampton's mansion for $165K a month.
We are just talking about all of her revenue streams.
Just so it makes sense, because it's like,
where does she have her money? It just seems like she's hanging out in St. Bart's drinking all of the time.
Yeah, well, and she was worth, $20 million for most of like the late 2020s. But I'm like, okay, it's kind of adding up with like the show, how much she was making from the show, renting it out. I think she probably had like a good chunk of change from
And then
RMS
also like
Fashions.
These women are also doing like, they're getting endorsements.
Promotions, endorsements. Yeah, I mean, Ramona's book, which we will read some passages later, it was basically like all ad space. It's just basically her talking about like Sharon Greasel, plastic surgeon to the stars, and like this like patio bar she keeps coming back to and talking about, like, with 3,200 square feet. It's
My
a perfect place
God.
to get away. She's very Bethany in that, like, she uses her celebrity for sponsorships, and that's
For
kind of
good.
a big part of her business. Yeah, for good.
She uses her celebrity for good.
For the good of the people. So then off screen, she was sued in 2018 by a company that gave her an assistant. According to
Oops.
Reality T, Lisa Tobbs agreed to work 20 hours per week for $4,000 a month,
Oof.
but she found herself working longer hours for free, being on call 24/7. She quit and refused to sign an NDA, and Ramona grabbed her purse and threw out the contents.
Wow, how Naomi Campbell of her. Listen, I feel like all of the women could have like really taken a lesson from Sonia Morgan, which is have all of these unpaid interns.
Yeah.
And let them be
smart.
on TV for like 12 seconds and it counts as a TV credit for them.
Yeah, but I think the problem is the barrier of entry. Like Sonia will just be like,
Clean my toilet.
yeah, anyone. Well, she's like, oh, college students, because they'll think that they're getting college credit, and so then it's like they're young, they're kind of too young to know better.
Yeah.
But Ramona and Bethany want someone qualified, and then want to make their lives helpful. My big thing is, why didn't Ramona have them sign the NDA before? That is such an amateur move. Bethany has never made that mistake.
She's never made that mistake, so we never hear about her. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, other than like she gives us so much.
Well, that she doesn't share, like, just openly. Like, you don't hear, it's like, you never hear from any of her former employees. And I'm sure there's a lot of disgruntled employees, kind of like what happens with all of them. I hate to say it, Meghan Markle.
Oh,
she
really?
said expose about them in Vanity Fair.
Oh,
I'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later. Okay, because I do want the tea on that. So then around that time too, Ramona also becomes a realtor for like a few years at Douglas Elliman.
Douglas Elliman. Who else is at Douglas Elliman? Lots of famous. Frederick is Douglas Elliman.
Oh, really? Was Kelly Douglas Elliman? Kelly.
Yeah. I think she still is Douglas Elliman. I keep up with their real estate licenses. I think she's really successful too. I hear that Kelly does really well. She does really well.
I think it all comes back to like they're all kind of doing the same thing, where it's like they're using their celebrity to leverage actual work, which like
they know a lot of rich people.
Yeah, and I don't think that's any again, to go back to Bethany, she positions herself as like better than all of them, but it's like, yeah, she's really they're all kind of doing the same thing, and like no one deserves less respect for it. I mean, I think like, hey, get your coin. Like, reality TV isn't forever, so it's good to use it to get the coin while you can.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's return to life on the Ramona Costa for a few fun passages before we take a break. So the way that she gets hooked up with RHONY, she describes in the book, was Dr. Sharon Greasy, everyone's favorite plastic surgeon and an expert on natural anti-aging procedures, is her title every time she talks about her. Hooks Ramona up with the RHONY producers. Producers had also seen her at a party hosted by my friend Pamela Morgan, who owns a culinary business called Flirting with Flavors, and then describes the business and another commercial. And she's like, apparently they tried to track me down, but they couldn't find me, even though Jill Zarin, who was also at the party, also could have told them how to contact me. Lots of shade at Jill in the book.
Yeah.
Ramona also refused to sign the show's contract until the producers agreed to FedEx her the demo tape for the show, which she decides is totally adorable. And then she agrees to do the show. But then she's like, no, actually, I don't want to do the show. I don't need to be famous. I'm already popular with my friends. I already have a successful business. I already have a full life. And then she tells the producers, I really don't do big charity events anymore. Like these, unemployed bitches, losers. That's not really where I'm at anymore. She prefers to go to dinner parties for 15, 30 people tops, which later, I guess the number will go up to 50 of her closest friends. The producers agree to accommodate her where I guess, no dinner party with more than 30 people. And then she agrees that she will film the show as a way to showcase Mario's True Faith jewelry sites, and that so Avery can learn how to build a business from the ground up.
And by the ground up, she means from her penthouse in the Upper East Side.
That's what I don't like about her and Avery, is that like, I'm like, even you guys are acting like you're above reality TV. Like, how do you have the Bethany disease? Like, you love it.
Avery?
You were born for it. Both of
Yeah,
them,
she
I
has
think.
her
Yeah.
batch. Is that still a business for her? Batch
Y-
business? Batch,
Yeah.
batch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Avery has gotten into a lot of trouble as of late with
I know
Bravo fans.
she got fired from her like business job.
Well, I think she actually left Morgan Stanley
Stanley.
to do the batch
He
biz,
was
but
an asshole.
yeah, and she talks about like how hard it was for her to find jobs in finance because everyone was prejudiced against me because of reality TV. It didn't give me a leg up. It was actually like much harder, and like people hate me just because I'm good
Because
TV.
of-
Like she thinks she's Ramona,
Yeah, no, Kendall Jenner said the same thing about being a model.
and also she thinks she's better
People
than
were
Kendall
so
Jenner. She shouts her out specifically, and she's like, "I'm not like those other nepo baby celebs with their duck face selfies. Like I'm actually making my way in the world. Everyone thinks they're different from each other in reality TV, and they're all the same."
It's like Avery, we barely remember you from the show.
And can I say something?
She's boring.
I never liked her.
I
Everyone was
never
like,
liked it.
poor Avery, parentified, da da da. I'm like, she's gonna
No,
grow up and be Ramona.
she's annoying.
She's so annoying. And like, I
Yeah,
do feel bad for her
yeah.
for being
It's
parentified, but
we prefer Jill's daughter, Allie. She's been
yeah.
through some stuff.
And yeah, and she, again, she's smart, using her resources to, I mean, I guess so is Avery. Really, everyone's the same.
Everyone is.
Gotta get the coin and
Gotta make
late
the
stage
coin.
capitalism hell.
Even if you're already guaranteed coin.
Yes. Yeah. From generational wealth. Okay, a few other fun passages from the book. Ramona describes how she cured her mother's cancer with coenzymes and shark cartilage.
We love it.
That's extremely our shit.
Oh my God. The stuff that I'm listening to right now is so unhealthy.
The insane pseudoscience podcast.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I found okay. I'll tell you.
We'll get into
we'll
it
talk
later.
separately.
We'll get into it off
Yeah.
air. So we also learned that Ramona tried to hide her boob job for the first season by telling everyone she'd been doing push-ups. Hilaria Baldwin.
Hello. Yeah, and much like Ilaria, her boobs have a Spanish accent.
Yes.
They know how to flamenco dance.
Yes. Yeah. They're always turtle timing. So it's really funny in the book. She drags everyone, but she really drags Alex and Simon. And she's like, right after I met them, I was like, I don't like Alex. She's not an independent career woman like the rest of us. And then later she realizes, like, I had such a visceral, hateful reaction to them because I have trauma around Brooklyn because me and my mom stayed in Brooklyn once with a family member to escape my father. Don't ever change.
And with that, we'll take a break.
Yes.
Sorry, Brooklyn.
Mario's affair. So in her book, Ramona says that once Ramona got on the show, there was a change in Mario. Like he was jealous. She was making more money. He was kind of on the show. It's not really clear how much they're business partners. It seems more like he's a tennis pro and she's supporting him.
Which, like,
kind
Paula, of. Yeah, she supports other women and she supports Mario Singer.
Yeah, girl boss. That's like gatekeep girl boss.
She's the reason that term exists.
She
it's
invented
for women.
it.
Like, yeah, they're like.
Elizabeth Holmes watched Ramona and she was like, let me pop my eyes and do my voice even weirder because this is my
I'm a boss babe.
I'm a boss babe. I can do a mean Elizabeth Holmes being a kind of weird looking white lady with a deep voice.
Say a Ramona Singer catchphrase, but as Elizabeth Holmes. Say you don't support other women as Elizabeth Holmes.
You don't support other women.
The fucking chills.
The fucking chills. Okay, so some speculate that Mario become resentful, jealous, they've grown apart, and that he was stepping out before she busted him, or he got busted eventually. After season 6.
Weren't there some clues on the show? So she had her renewal, which was very famous. Her renewal, whatever, they had their vow renewal. Leading up to it was a scary island, so that gave us a lot of fodder. But there would be like episodes, like I remember an episode where she would like, we're still so hot for each other, and it's like a night she's trying to give him a massage and he's like, Ramona, like that hurts, like stop. And it's like they're playing like sexy music and it's like it's literally the opposite of Tamara and Eddie's sex tape that we've seen on OC.
Yeah. Those were like
Mario's like, stop touching me, Ramona. And she's like, he loves when I give him a massage like this, and he loves my feet, and he's like, ugh, like, stop.
Really, this was something I was so wrong. I thought they were so hot for each other those early seasons. Like, I really didn't get it at all. I thought he was like good at
Well, and then
faking
they
it to
would,
me.
like, later they would show clips of him being, like, very flirty and almost, like,
Hmm.
Tom-esque of, like, like, "You
Performing,
might
being
have
hot
this
for
ring
her.
on my finger." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, there were definitely clues. The biggest clue was probably the psychic in season
Oh
4,
god.
which
Also,
is
I'll
some.
say this about really quick, sorry to
Mhm.
interject
No, no, please.
for the viewers.
Oh, yeah.
Mario was always like, I always thought he was the hottest of all of the
He's
husbands.
he's
Like,
so hot.
Mauricio couldn't even hold a candle
I
to Mario.
completely agree. Yeah, Mario,
He's
he's so
always got that
hot,
he's always got that
charming.
Palm Beach glow.
And yeah, he's just like you can tell that like he spent his just like fucking every
He's
million
hot.
in the country club teaching him tennis. Like it's like he learned like the Lothario courtesan
He always
skills.
looked
He's skilled in
really
the art
good.
of,
Yeah. I was like, I just want to
milf
be in his
wasp love.
Yeah, I just want to be in his glow.
Yeah, he's super super hot and charismatic.
Yes.
So some people think that the cheating part of that glow was because he was getting it on the side, and that Ramona, it flared up, or like it started to leak in season 4. So season 4 we have Ramona's pregnancy scare at
Oh god.
48 years old, and famously whenever there's a pregnancy scare or storyline on the show with a perimenopausal or postmenopausal woman, they're trying to hide something else. We see with
Should we
Judas's.
Yeah, should we reenact the psychic scene? I'll
Okay,
be
yeah.
the psychic, you can be Ramona.
Okay.
I see. Okay, so before you set, let's set the
Mhm.
scene. They're in Morocco on a girls' trip, and they're talking to a psychic. I see another woman.
I think that means I'm gonna have a baby. That's what she said, right?
No, I see a woman, a grown adult woman.
No, like a little. Oh, yeah. And is it crying? And it's small.
There's crying from a woman. Yes,
And then
there's tears.
Sonia weeping. Like, I'm worried for you.
Jill's like, oh, and scene.
And scene. So more credence to this rumor is that Ramona was filming with Alex and Sonia at one point in season 4, and she flipped out and hit a producer. Some reports say slap, some people say punch, and they had to shut down for 2 weeks because
Whoopsie.
Ramona claimed it was like in defense because of like she was being attacked, unfairly treated and picked on by production. And so they have to shut it down, do an investigation, and then cameras back up again. They lost 2 weeks of that's a huge deal to be
lot
pushed
of
back
money.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. NBC Brass probably was not happy.
No. And that would explain, I think, why even when it's happening in season 6, it doesn't come up again, because they're so scared that like she's already been violent with Kristen in season 6, probably again because of the cheating stuff coming out. And they're like, we just don't want, it's just not worth pushing back shooting to address this on camera.
Right.
So that is a theory. So then in mid-July, season 6 is being filmed, and Mario's Mistress is going around to parties showing people naked pictures of them.
Whoa.
So there's whispering already.
There's the rumors about the nastiness.
Yes, it's definitely going around. And then
it's all over the Upper East Side.
And we obviously see in season 6, like Ramona go to Heather's house in the Berkshires and is driven insane from PTSD and no air conditioner. Throws the glass at Kristen Takeman, refuses to apologize, stages a PTSD meltdown in the woods in front of Carol so she can have a private plane pick her up.
Well, was this the wood scene where she talks about her upbringing?
Yes, where she's like, oh, it's so weird. I'm being reminded,
I'm being reminded this leaf is just like my father's home.
Yes. So there's a theory that what really happened was, what did happen was 2 weeks ago, Mario had fucked his 35-year-old mistress, Casey Dexter, in public.
He was 64 at the time.
Yeah, in public on a pool lounger at Mark Leader's house. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. In front of Jill Zarin and Patty Stanger.
Hello.
So
two very good friends with each other.
Yeah.
Not with Ramona.
Not with Ramona.
Patty
birds of a
and
feather.
Jill. I know that Patty and Jill are very, very close.
And that would explain why Jill would even be at a party like this. Like Patty, I guess I'm like, oh, she's recruiting for a millionaire matchmaker.
I think she's Allie's like godmother. They don't really do that in like Judaism, but like she's like that level with the family.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
So
very, very close.
the reason that it's like we need kind of a justification of why Jill would be there is because Dr. Mark Letter, or not doctor, he's a hedge funder, but he's a really
That's
good.
very different.
Yeah, sorry. I mean,
we'll take a doctor, we'll take a hedge funder, but just those two.
well, he's friends with, well, all of his friends are either doctors or hedge funders. His good friend is Dr. Lenny Hochstein, is why I got confused.
Good
From
Jewish boy
Miami.
check.
So after Mark was cheated on by his 22-year-old wife with his tennis coach, he kind of went on a wild streak, and he turned his Hamptons house into like the Playboy mansion for guys cheating on their wives, like rich guys. It's just like a fuck pad where like you can cheat on your wife in
but
public.
hey, at the Hamptons, baby. Hello.
And yeah, and somehow I guess, according to reports, like Patty and Jill got in there. Like, why would they allow Bravo? It's like you're trying to keep it on the DL.
Right, especially Patty Stinger, who is so desperate for any ounce of any sort of media attention. Like, she is not the person that you publicly bang somebody in front of.
Yeah, which makes me think maybe she heard a rumor and just she brings it up on Watch What Happens Live and says that that's what
it was the talk of the Upper East Side. I remember I told you I read all of these articles in Page Six as it was happening. I was so captivated by this story. Right. I know all of the stories of like Ramona's freaking out in public and stuff about it.
Yeah. We'll get there for sure. So then, yeah, the Post picks it up. It's still all rumors at this point, though. And so what's suspected is that Ramona, this is like a big fan theory, staged the PTSD thing, not just because she wanted to go to the cooler party in the Hamptons, the St. Bart's Gala with Molly Sims. People think it's because like she was trying to catch Mario and Casey in the act at their Hamptons house, which Casey says she did catch them.
She did
in the act.
That's where she eventually caught them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But Ramona's timeline in the book is that she didn't know about the affair at all until after shooting wrapped, and then she could sense Mario something was wrong because
he didn't want to wear his ring out in public,
or he would just meet her after the filming wrap. He used to always come after the after party to like break down film about the season, and he didn't this time.
Yeah.
And then one time, I think she like catches him on the phone, and she like is like, maybe it's another woman.
Yeah.
But first, she says that he was like, actually, I'm deeply unhappy. I want to separate. And then months later, it's like the catching on the phone thing, and then she discusses it in therapy. He admits it, and then that just so happens to be like right before the big article breaks confirming it, the Mistress, the abortion, all of that in Page 6. So 2 different timelines. I'm kind of more inclined to believe.
I think it's like a thing too, like if it's happening, you're kind of turning a blind eye for a little bit of just like self-preservation and it's like probably a lot of denial. Like, we've been married for 25 years. We have a daughter. We have businesses together. He's been my partner. Like maybe something's happening. If it is, maybe he'll get it out of his system type of thing. And it's not going to actually destroy our marriage. And then it was. And
I think like this is just reminds me so much of like Kyle and Mauricio. And like even a little Tom and Ariana, where it's like, I think that like there's one thing to like, be in a long-term relationship that's a business partnership and a marriage, and like kind of turning a blind eye about like just like little malfeasance, indiscretions. Like if, I don't know, like personally, I don't judge them for this. Like if I was in Hollywood and like had a sex drive, and I would be fine if Cam like occasionally, but like for them to humiliate you on that level,
which Casey did humiliate Ramona. Humiliated. Like she would go around. She was very open and blatant when she would go to restaurants. So Casey is the Mistress, she's the 30-something year old that Mario does end up, this does destroy their marriage, and he stays with her. They lived together and
Yeah.
everything. But she would go to all of the restaurants and bars that Ramona would go to on the Upper East
And
Side, and
flip
like,
out.
yeah, and she would taunt her relationship in front of
Mhm.
Ramona. Ramona would go to the bathroom and have a full like panic attack, meltdown, and break shit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one page 6 report that like Ramona was at an Italian restaurant, Casey showed up, and she
Mhm.
was asked to leave, and then when she was asked to leave, she was like, actually I just need to use the bathroom, and then lunged into the dining room. Manager grabs hold of her and she screams, you don't want me to tell her I'm still fucking her husband. And then Casey Dexter has a manager as well
Yeah.
at this point. Like, what's her talent?
Well, being with successful older men, because I say in that story that she had done this before.
Well, she's done this before and then she does it
She did
after. Okay.
after.
So
Yeah.
let's get into exactly what happens with her and Mario.
Yeah.
So Casey, when all of this breaks, she also like tells the press in August, so still while filming season 6 of RHONY, Mario got Casey pregnant.
Yeah.
He paid for her abortion and she says pressured her into an abortion. And so then when he stays with her, he like pays for her home in Boca. He's back and forth between there and New York and still paying for her place. She grows to resent him because he goes on a few trips with Ramona to try to like make it work and get back together. They go to St. Bart's.
Yeah. And this is also when she's not talking about what's happening. I think this is around the time when she was doing the reunion and she was like, I'm shutting this down. Like Andy was trying to ask her about like what's going on with her marriage. She was trying to fix it at that point. So she's like, I'm shutting it down. I'm not talking about it, Andy. And he's pretty pissed about that.
Yeah.
It was a really big story. There are so many stories about this.
Yeah, dude. And so
it was
then
crazy.
It's crazy. So then she, mostly because like the mistress is like doesn't care
She's
about
like,
looking like
"Yeah,
shit. She's like she's sending this.
She loves
Did you
it."
hear about how I went crazy and stalked Ramona? To like page 6, you know. Yeah, like that's what her manager is for, to send the stories of her freaking out.
And I'm sure that she's getting paid for those stories.
Yeah. And she was someone who, like, in interviews, she talks about she's always wanted to be a kept woman. She doesn't want to work. She was really just looking for like to start a family with Mario. So after the abortion and after it ends up not working out with Ramona and he stays with the mistress, she is really wanting a family and he gets a vasectomy without telling her. And so that like makes things more strained. Plus the fact that he's like, she's still a mistress to him, clearly. He comes to live with her some of the time, but he's also like being a co-parent, like obviously values his relationship with, the mother of his child and his daughter more, which he should, you know.
They were estranged for a long time, but I feel like Ramona and Mario, they found their way back to each other. I think they were like really good friends for a long time.
They quarantined together.
Yeah, they did, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he installs hidden cameras in their house.
Yeah.
Because he feels like she's cheating on him.
She might be cheating on him.
She is. He catches her.
In the Hampton, wasn't it in the Hamptons house? Or was it a different
Boca.
Okay, Boca house.
Yeah. That's where she lives. West Palm. West Palm and Boca, I think they're the same thing.
They're different.
Well, they lived in Boca. Sorry. I only know because I watched her whole Boca like YouTube interview and it was like she's a piece of work.
Yeah.
So she this is like really messy. Like when he catches her, he's like, okay, you've got 30 days to leave the house. And she's like, I'm not gonna leave. He calls the cops. The next day, she still hasn't left. She calls the cops. And is like, I'm scared of him. I don't know what he'll do. This is my house. And the police were like, well, he can't like physically throw you out right now. Like it is your house. She calls Ramona a loser. And I'm like, how did you even bring that in? And so then finally, I think the police do like escort her off. And then she comes back like 2 weeks later with the police escort to get her stuff. So really messy. All the 911 phone calls are leaked to the press. Like just all so messy and humiliating, you know?
What's their family think?
Okay. So I think let's go back a little on this it's like pure fatal attraction to me, like in real life. Like, so she went to LSU and then she moved to New York City to be like a model, actor, personal trainer. So then she had an affair with her married boss around like 27, 28, 29. Well, she was a trainer at a gym, but it has a restaurant like name.
Yeah.
And so then she was stalking him after they
Mhm.
broke up,
Broke
calling, emailing incessantly. She'll go up to his house. He got a protective order. Then she
mhm.
checks into a mental health facility. And
Mhm.
then when she comes back, she sues the gym and her boss because she says her boss tried to make her have sex on all of the gym
The
equipment.
equipment, yeah.
Was her complaint. It was like, I'd rather have just done it in a bed. You know, also that like he pressured her to keep her job or whatever, but it was like deemed to be a frivolous lawsuit and she, you know, it was thrown out. Then right on the heels of that lawsuit being thrown out, she finds Mario. Then after Mario ends, right after that,
Christy
she
Brinkley's husband.
she sends to the press that she had a 5-day affair with Peter Cook, who is Christy Brinkley's ex-husband, who 10 years before had left Christy Brinkley because he cheated on her with an 18-year-old.
Yes.
He is 62 at the time of the affair with Casey. And so she says, I'm telling the press about this because I want to make Mario jealous. He flew me to the Hamptons so we could fuck for 5 days straight. He said that even though I'm too old for him, he's falling in love with me. He talked shit about Christy Brinkley the whole time, which I wasn't cool with. So Peter Cook denies all this because, I mean,
he's like, yeah. And again, she's like still crazy about him and he's like not answering her calls.
And so then she releases topless photos of her at his house to the press.
Like one does.
Like one does, right. I mean, you know, shouldn't have, you know, she will not be ignored, Dan.
She's not the one. She's about to boil a bunny. Be careful.
And like, I don't want to be too dismissive. This definitely does seem like she's mentally unwell and this is a pattern of behavior, but these men could be also like, you know, because she's mentally unwell.
Yeah.
Well, they could be her grandpa, but they could be like abusive or like shitty towards her, which makes it all worse for
like,
sure.
I have the money, I have the power, I have all of the things. Like, you are just one of many women, probably.
Yes. So it's like, I'm not like, they aren't victims of her or anything.
Yeah.
Like, they all were horrible too and probably treated her horribly. So it's like, no wonder she's vindictive and wants to go to the press. Like,
right.
But the vindictiveness she feels towards all the ex-wives, I think, is a little misplaced for her to like keep.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there's kids.
There's kids. Yeah, it's kind of like a little, you know, little cavalier, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry, hot take. So
but we do appreciate all of the page 6 articles.
We really do. Yeah, we appreciate that and also it's like, even though I felt like before really like looking into this that Ramona was more forthright about Mario's affair than like a lot of housewives have been about, you know, Kyle still won't admit Mauricio cheated on her.
Kyle's never admitted anything in her entire life on that show except about her sister's alcoholism, and that's the only thing she's ever publicly talked about.
Yeah, and like, you know, EJ won't admit you know, like there's like plenty of stuff that, or Jen Shaw, there's plenty of stuff people won't admit at all, especially a lot of cheating stuff. Like PK and Dorit, they're going through a divorce, they're not even getting into like cheating stuff.
People are just like, wow, she's mentioning it all because she's smoking a cigarette.
I know. Yeah, people they lap it up. Anyway, so yeah, so I was like, oh, I think she really like did, you know, was more vulnerable about this, but then I'm like, man, there's so much stuff that she was able to keep off camera. So props for addressing it, but also, man, would have loved to hear her talk some shit about Casey Dexter, even though that's, I guess, exactly what Casey Dexter wants, is to, you know, have her name in the press. So I get why she didn't. Also, I think Ramona was very protective of Avery during this time. Like for a year, apparently, in her book, she says she just gaslit Avery. Avery's like, I'm reading, it seems like Dad cheated. I'm reading this stuff about cheating. It seems like he's living this woman, and it's like, no, she's not. And Avery's like, okay.
Well, why is this woman screaming at us at a restaurant, Mommy?
Yeah.
She's not.
And yet Avery still, you know, blames Bravo for her parents' divorce, like blames whatever, not her dad. Hates reality TV so much, even though benefits from it. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, guys.
Exactly.
I can see Avery. I think it would be totally fair if she was like, kids shouldn't be on reality TV, but it's like, that was your mom's choice. Again, misdirected, you know.
Like to put her kid on TV. You know.
Okay.
That was fun.
So let's wrap it up with Ramona getting fired to end on a really dark note.
No.
Do you want to get into it or no?
But we can just do the cliff note. We'll just high level. The last season of original RHONY was really bleak. They had not because of this reason, but they did have their first Black cast member.
I do think that was a lot of it.
Yeah.
Was like, it was 2020. The
It was
show had neglected that it's just showed an all-white version of New York for so long, and they are being like criticized for what an oversight that is. So in an effort to rush it, as most networks do, they're like, okay, we're going to send in a journalist who's esteemed, and essentially she will not only be a cast member, but she will also teach them. She'll also be like an HR person, and she'll also absolve us of any responsibility for the viewers. So it's like she had way too much. She was just totally set up for failure because Bravo wanted to like, oh, let's rush this and like make sure that no one gets mad at us.
Right. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, there was a lot. She said and did really racist things off camera to the cast member, and the way that she spoke to producers, like it's documented.
Yes,
you can read it all. You can read it about it. And you can also read her trying to defend herself to page 6, where she says, I didn't say the N-word. I said, spells it out. And then she spells it. And so they were like, okay. And they took a screenshot and posted the article.
Yeah, which is like, proof. It's like almost proof you did say it if you were gonna like.
So she rightfully was let go. And this was like, I think just like the final sort of nail in the coffin. Like, viewers have sort of changed their appetite for this type of behavior. Well, we never had an appetite for it, but we sort of like looked over it, or there was like whispers about it. But this time it was like very, very blatant. But I feel like Ramona's just also, she's had a history of this. We've seen it on the show before, just the way that she would talk to wait staff or people working, when she's when she's on a girls trip in another country, the way she treats people who she like treats them like they're beneath her, right?
Which she blames on her family, because she's like, well, my parents always treated.
She's like, I tipped them very well, and it's like, you still can't talk to people that way.
Yeah, she's just I think she's so self-centered that like she can't help but see herself as a victim. Even the context in which she said the slurs was about how like shiksa being said to me is the same as if you were called a slur. It's like she just can't imagine anyone having it as hard as she did, and anything she does is justified because she grew up in an abusive home. But like, but she, and like part of the reason she was so fun to watch is because her brain is kind of emotionally stunted at like the age her trauma started, and she's like eternally a teenager with no impulse control. But the fact that she cannot adapt and learn lessons and grow and like treat people with a modicum of respect or examine, her biases is like also why she's just a liability.
She's a liability. We don't really miss her on TV. We appreciate her contributions.
Yes.
Sayonara,
Ramona. And I don't think she'll be coming back. No. Especially because I don't know, like if she did a big like,
she did come back though, but she did come back. She came back on
Ultimate Girls Trip, yeah.
But she wasn't invited to. They shot that before, and she was not invited to the BravoCon.
BravoCon, yeah. Andy uninvited her, yeah, which is the right move.
Right move.
So that's our expose on the Singer Stinger. That's what we should call it.
The Singer Stinger.
The Singer Stinger. And so again, we're maybe not as deep of a dive as Bethany, but because Ramona, Bethany, I think deep down knows the answers about herself, but Ramona, I don't think she remembers. I think when she says a lie gets true to her, and the timelines will always be murky, and she's just, trapped in a world of herself.
And we love that.
We love that. We love that for her. Don't want her on TV. She can just stay at Mar-a-Lago with Avery and have fun over there.
Yeah.
All right. So at the end of the show, we always do an oral exam. That is a 1-minute essay on a pop culture topic of your choice that starts in this essay I will prove. Michele, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. This is Michele Baber's oral exam. Her time starts now.
In this essay, I will prove Lauren should probably read the Vanity Fair article about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. We've always been pro Meghan. I think I still am, even after reading this expose, which didn't really expose too much, but it was just a lot of anonymous employees talking about their time working with Meghan since they've been in the United States. So since they've been in the United States, and this is not employees that they had with the firm, the royal family, they've left, they're now in America. they've had 20 people quit on them, and they have used terms describing her as a monster in heels, the Duchess Diva, that she doesn't take any sort of advice from anybody, which is why a lot of their businesses have failed. And
10
that
seconds.
Harry doesn't really like anything except polo, and Meghan works really hard, but she again doesn't heed advice from others, and then Harry doesn't do anything, so they're just sort of useless and flailing and don't know what to do with their careers in time.
Wow. So yeah, just typical rich kid stuff.
Well, I was like, okay, rich kid stuff, yes, for Harry. I will say that there is something like having 20 people quit on you in
That's a lot.
in a 4-year span that's
Yeah.
a lot of people to quit on you.
But how
And
big is their company? Because if it's like 500 people, I'm like, that's not
no,
crazy.
it's like, these are people that are like, it's not even with, it's like housekeepers and assistants, and, some of them are
Oh,
higher ranks and stuff. And they've tried, I guess she's trying to launch another business, but they can't get a CEO. It's called like American Riviera Orchard, and she named it after, they live in Montecito, which is, they call like the American Riviera, I guess. But people in Montecito also really dislike them. They call the couple, this was in the Vanity Fair article, like him the prince and her the starlet. And other famous people live in Montecito, but they don't talk about living in Montecito. And she always makes like a thing when she goes to a restaurant, like she calls ahead and she's like, we're gonna be here, and like that makes it a really big deal. But they say a lot more people who are a lot more famous than them don't do these sort of things. They brought a lot of negative attention to the community.
so is it an old money versus new money thing with her?
I think that it's just like people are saying they're really difficult. I think it was more written from the perspective of like why they've been not so successful since they've been in the United States, and sort of why that's happened, because her Spotify show was canceled. And part of the reason for that was kind of interesting. I guess they got paid $40 million or something crazy from Spotify, and it was like 3 years, and they hadn't produced any content, and they didn't know what they were going to do. And then finally, like, they just sort of slapped something together. Harry was at that point not even really involved, and they called it Archetypes, sort of based off of their son's name, Archie. Like, it was really sort of haphazard. It wasn't very good. She was apparently still kind of difficult to work with. A lot of people were like, this is how you do a podcast. Like, she'd never done a podcast. She never really interviewed people, wouldn't take advice from anybody on how to do those things. Spotify cut ties. They ended up losing a lot of money with them. The same thing happened with Netflix, and it's actually happening right now. She had a show that I guess just recently, it was supposed to come out like a couple weeks ago, and it's her lifestyle show on Netflix. I guess she like cooks and gets lunch with Mindy Kaling. I'm not sure. But then she said that she was postponing it until March because of the wildfires. So she didn't want to do press for it, which, like, understandable. But then now there's like articles saying that it was really Netflix who has postponed it since this Vanity Fair article came out. And so it's again more negative press about Meghan. So I don't think anything they're saying is like particularly like something you haven't really heard about her before, that she's just sort of difficult. But it's more just like, yeah, they're just not, they'd never take advice. They always think that they're right. And that, I guess one of the bad things was that she's like the constant victim, and it's always everyone's out to get her, but she'll never take accountability, sort of thing.
Yeah, I do think that like I do think like the way she was so emotionally, I don't know, like they both were so emotionally traumatized after everything they went through. Probably like the first thing to do would not be starting their own business from scratch and finding their passion, and also making sure they show their side of the story. Like it's like, just do something normal.
Yeah, and that's
You
the
don't have
thing
your
that
shit together because you just
that
went
is
through all that.
kind of what they're doing now, is like the people are like, well, you're just sort of royals for pay now, because they are still doing these like big engagements, kind of what the royal family does, and they go to like different parts of the world where
That's what they wanted to do.
The
all this time.
monarchy is still sort of like prevalent or whatever, which is also kind of tacky.
Yeah.
So they're doing that now, but they're just, it's kind of weird.
It's tough.
But I think that she has fabulous style.
Yeah, well, lots of neutrals.
Lots of neutrals, yes, and she wears a lot of jewelry from Diana.
Actually, okay, that's gonna be mine. That's gonna be mine. We'll get into this. Is like the only negative things we've ever said about Meghan.
And I still think that she's great.
I still like her. Okay. In this essay, I will prove, watched the documentary, Harry and Meghan documentary, so this is kind of old news, and I was sympathetic towards them. I do think that they clearly just really want control of their own narrative. Right. So I think that those,
Yeah.
it's kind of bad faith when people are like they say they don't want attention, but they want the whole South Park making fun of them or whatever. It's like they're working through stuff, Carrie's not the smartest, it's just like a very emotional therapeutic process, and they're figuring out how to monetize it, But what I did not like was when they say that Megan only wore neutrals because she was scared of wearing colors, or that like she felt like the firm discouraged it, and then it plays the Rolling Stones She's a Rainbow, and it shows her in all these very different colorful outfits, and maybe she did have a colorful period to symbolize her like coming out, but like really that girl loves a neutral. She prefers a neutral.
There's nothing wrong with being a beige girly.
She's a California loungewear, luxe, minimalism,
exactly,
neutral,
quiet
luxury. And it's like I think it's stuff like that where they
stupid.
Where they clearly are spinning. When they get caught spinning, that's when people use it as fodder to be like, you lie about everything. I don't think they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, what was that movie with the spinning top? I can't remember.
Inception.
Nolan. Yeah, this is Inception.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't get it.
Yeah. This life is a dream within a dream. And
God.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok if you still have it downloaded. Michelle does not.
I do not. I'm in hell.
At Bravo_breakdowns. If you want to watch this episode on video, it's available on YouTube / @Bravo Breakdowns. If you're watching it on YouTube, of course, at the end, we always show you our boobs. And tune in next week. We're going to be doing our Salt Lake City reunion recaps with a very special guest. And please comment and tell us if you want Michelle to watch Traitors so we can cover Traitors. Please, please, please. Or at least House of Villains. Students, I need you. I need you to have my back on this.
Bye.